Okay, guys, our today's topic is sickle cell anemia. Acronym for that is SCA. SCA means sickle cell anemia. This sickle cell anemia, it is an autosomal Mendelian disorder. First, we discussed sex-linked Mendelian disorders. We discussed two sex-linked Mendelian disorders. We discussed hemophilia and we discussed red-green color blindness. Now, today we are going to discuss autosomal Mendelian disorder. And this autosomal Mendelian disorder is a disorder which is caused by gene mutation on an autosome. Since it is a gene mutation, so we call it as a Mendelian disorder. But the gene mutation occurs on autosome, that is why we call it as autosomal Mendelian disorder. So this sickle cell anemia, it is caused due to what is it is cause? It is caused due to mutation of mutation of gene hemoglobin beta gene on short arm of chromosome number 11. Chromosome number 11. So sickle cell anemia is caused due to mutation of a gene. That gene is hemoglobin beta gene. And this gene is present on short arm of chromosome number 11. So what happens due to this gene mutation? You know, in our RBCs, there is hemoglobin. This hemoglobin, which is normal hemoglobin is written as hemoglobin A. In this normal hemoglobin, there are four polypeptide chains. There are two alpha chains, there are two beta chains. So there are four polypeptide chains. Polypeptide chains. In a normal hemoglobin molecule, there are four polypeptide chains. Two chains are known as alpha chains and two chains are known as beta chains. This hemoglobin beta gene, it codes for these two beta polypeptide chains. In a normal hemoglobin, in these two beta chains, the sequence of amino acids is valine, histidine, leucine, threonine, proline, valine, histidine, leucine, threonine, proline, glutamic acid, is it visible? Yes. Glutamic acid, and then there is another glutamic acid, right? So the first amino acid in a beta polypeptide chain is valine, second amino acid is histidine, third is leucine, fourth is threonine, fifth is proline, sixth is glutamic acid, seventh is glutamic acid, and then there are many more amino acids. This is the sequence of amino acids into beta chains. Both of them have this sequence of amino acids, right? First amino acid is valine, second is histidine, third is glycine, fourth is threonine, fifth is proline, sixth is glutamic acid, and seventh is glutamic acid. Then there are many more amino acids. But when this gene gets mutated, this gene mutation changes one amino acid in the beta polypeptide gene. So the hemoglobin becomes abnormal, and that mutated hemoglobin is written as hemoglobin sickle. So when there is mutation and an abnormal hemoglobin is produced because of this gene mutation, that abnormal hemoglobin is written as HbS, hemoglobin sickle. In this hemoglobin sickle, what is the sequence of amino acids in it is two beta chains, two beta polypeptides. The sequence of amino acids is like this: valine, histidine, leucine, threonine, proline, then it should have been glutamic acid. Here it is valine and then glutamic acid. So here in the mutated hemoglobin, the first amino acid in beta chain is valine, second is histidine, third is leucine, fourth is threonine, fifth is proline, sixth is valine, and then seventh is again glutamic acid. So the difference between the normal hemoglobin and the mutated hemoglobin is that in this hemoglobin S, in this hemoglobin sickle, mutated hemoglobin, sixth amino acid in these two beta chains is valine when it should have been glutamic acid. It should have been glutamic acid. So glutamic acid is replaced by valine. So there is just substitution of one amino acid at sixth position in two. So in hemoglobin sickle, there is valine at the sixth position in the two beta chains, and in normal hemoglobin, there is glutamic acid at the sixth position in the two beta chains. So hemoglobin A, hemoglobin, normal hemoglobin, and hemoglobin S, sickle hemoglobin, they differ from each other in the position of just single amino acid in two beta chains. In normal hemoglobin, in two beta chains, the sixth amino acid in the beta chain is glutamic acid. In a sickle hemoglobin, a mutated hemoglobin, the sixth amino acid in its beta chain is valine. So glutamic acid is replaced by valine, and this causes the problem. Right? So this sickle hemoglobin, it is very sensitive to oxygen deficiency. This sickle hemoglobin is very sensitive to oxygen deficiency. And when this sickle hemoglobin, when it delivers oxygen content in the body tissues, this hemoglobin S, hemoglobin sickle, is very sensitive. It is very sensitive to oxygen deficiency. Oxygen deficiency. So when this sickle hemoglobin, it delivers oxygen to tissues. When it delivers oxygen to tissues, it starts sickling. So what happens in this process of sickling? Before sickling, this hemoglobin, it is dissolved. It is dissolved in plasma. So it is in solution. It is in solution. So as it delivers the oxygen, as it gets deoxygenated. So when it delivers the oxygen to the tissues, this hemoglobin, it precipitates out. It precipitates out of solution. In the form of fibers. So when this sickle hemoglobin delivers oxygen to the tissues, just after deoxygenation, it precipitates out of the solution. So far it was in the form of, it was dissolved in the plasma. It was in solution. Now as it delivers the oxygen, it precipitates out of the solution and it forms small fibers. These fibers, they clump together. These fibers clump together to form rods. These fibers clump together to form rods. So one fiber, another fiber, many fibers join and they form rods. Then these rods bundle together. They bundle together and distort shape of RBC. So they change the shape of RBC, right? So this is how this sickle hemoglobin creates the sickling in RBC. So this sickle hemoglobin, it is very sensitive to oxygen deficiency as it delivers oxygen to the body tissues. When it delivers oxygen, so that means on deoxygenation, it gets precipitated out of the solution. When it precipitates out of the solution, it precipitates out of the solution in the form of fibers. These fibers, they clump together, they form rods. They form rods. So fibers, they clump together, they form rods, and these rods, then they form bundles. And these bundles, they distort the shape of RBC. This is a bundle of these fibers. So they distort the shape of RBC. So RBCs become sickle shaped. RBCs become sickle shaped, right? This is half moon shaped RBC. So this half moon shaped RBC, it is created because of the bundles of these hemoglobin fibers. This is a sickle shaped RBC. This is a sickle RBC. So I would like to tell it again. So when this sickle hemoglobin delivers oxygen into body tissues, as it is sensitive to oxygen deficiency, it precipitates out of the solution in the form of fibers. Those fibers, they clump together. They form helical rods. Then those rods clump together. When the rods clump together, they form bundles. And these bundles of hemoglobin, they distort the shape of RBC. Our RBCs, they are circular normally. They are circular normally. And they are biconcave normally. Our RBCs are circular and biconcave normally, right? Now these RBCs, they change their shape and they become sickle shaped. They become half moon shaped or they become crescent shaped, right? Crescent shaped. Now what is the problem with these sickle shaped RBCs or crescent shaped RBCs? These RBCs, they may get blocked. They lose their flexibility. These RBCs, they lose their flexibility and they may get trapped. They may get trapped in microcirculation. In microcirculation. These normal RBCs, they are very much flexible. They are highly flexible. Normal RBCs are highly flexible. These sickle-shaped RBCs, they are not flexible. They become rigid. They become rigid. So these rigid RBCs, when they are passing through microcirculation, when they are passing through minute capillaries, they get trapped in those minute capillaries. So they block the microcirculation. They block the microcirculation. So that means blood supply to any body tissue may get blocked. Those body tissues where this microcirculation is blocked, they suffer damage. So they may cause damage in kidney, they may cause damage in liver, they may cause damage in heart, they may cause damage in brain, right? So any body organ may suffer damage due to obstruction in microcirculation, due to this blockade of microcirculation. This is number first. Number second, this normal RBC, it is very flexible. It has got a lifespan of 115 to 120 days. So it remains circulating in blood for a period of 115 to 120 days. But these sickle-shaped RBCs, because they are rigid, they are not flexible, they get trapped mostly. So their lifespan is reduced just 10 to 12, 20 days. Their life period is reduced just for 10, from 115 to 120 days to 10 to 20 days. And just after 10 to 20 days, they are destroyed. They get destroyed. They are destroyed in liver and spleen. So the rate of destruction of RBCs gets very much fast. RBC destruction occurs at a faster rate, and the person starts suffering from lack of RBCs. A person starts suffering from the low count of RBCs, because RBCs are getting now destroyed. They were usually being destroyed after 115 to 120 days. When the RBCs become sickle shaped, when they become rigid, then these rigid RBCs they get trapped in the sinusoids of spleen and liver, where they are destroyed just after 10 to 20 days. And the number of RBCs starts falling in this person, and the person starts suffering from chronic anemia. So the first symptom of this sickle cell anemia develops in the form of chronic anemia. So the number of RBCs in the circulating blood of the person starts falling down. The person starts to develop a pale look. The person starts to experience weakness, right? Then the person also starts to experience shortness of breath. Shortness of breath. The person experiences episodes of breathlessness because of low RBC count. So when the RBC count is very low, oxygen supply to the body organs gets impaired. Lungs try to take oxygen more and more. So the person's heartbeat rate increases with the respiratory rate also, right? So the person's respiratory rate and heartbeat rate, it starts increasing in order to meet the oxygen deficiency. So the person starts developing breathlessness, right? Then, due to lack of oxygen supply to the body muscles, the person starts developing pain. The person develops pain in muscles, in abdomen, and even in bones. Due to lack of oxygen supply, this sickle cell anemia patient, he starts experiencing pain in muscles, abdomen, and bones, right? And the person may also suffer from fever, right? So, why this occurs? It is all because of the sickling of RBCs. So now I hope you have understood how the RBCs sickle. So when this abnormal hemoglobin, when it delivers oxygen to the tissues, as it delivers oxygen to the tissues, it is very sensitive to oxygen deficiency. At that very moment, it precipitates out of the solution in the form of small filaments. Those filaments, they join together, they clump together, and they form helical rods. Those helical rods join together, they form bundles, and these bundles of hemoglobin, which are present in the RBC, they distort the shape of RBC. So RBC becomes sickle shaped. These sickle shaped RBCs, they lose their flexibility. They lose their flexibility, and they get trapped in the microcirculation. So microcirculation may get blocked in any body organ, and that body organ may suffer damage due to that blockade in microcirculation. This sickling also reduces the lifespan of these RBCs. A normal RBC lives for 115 to 120 days. But these sickle-shaped RBCs, they do not live so long. They are destroyed just after 10 to 20 days in liver and spleen. So this faster destruction of RBCs, the rate of destruction of RBCs, it exceeds the rate of formation of RBCs. So the RBC count in the blood of the person starts falling down. So the person suffers from anemia. Any decrease in the RBC count or hemoglobin content in the body of a person is known as anemia. So this person suffers from chronic anemia. Due to chronic anemia, the person also suffers from breathlessness. The person also suffers from muscle pain, abdomen pain, pain of the bones due to lack of oxygen. And the person may also suffer from fever. So these are the symptoms associated with this sickle cell anemia, right? So this is how sickle cell anemia affects the body. Can this sickle cell anemia be treated? Since it is a genetic disorder, it is caused due to gene mutation. So the one possible treatment for this sickle cell anemia is gene therapy. That is very costly. That is an expensive technique, right? So the only possible way out for this sickle cell anemia is a drug known as hydroxyurea. if the persons who are suffering from sickle cell anemia are given the drug hydroxyurea, this hydroxyurea it stimulates formation of fetal hemoglobin in the body of sickle cell anemia patient. The body of sickle cell anemia patient, right? This fetal hemoglobin does not sickle on oxygen deficiency. So there is only one treatment for sickle cell anemia. A person who is suffering from sickle cell anemia is given hydroxyurea drug. This hydroxyurea drug stimulates the formation of fetal hemoglobin in his body. This fetal hemoglobin, it does not sickle in oxygen deficiency. So if the sickle cell anemia patient is given hydroxyurea drug, after taking hydroxyurea drug, his body will start formation of fetal hemoglobin, a special hemoglobin which is found in fetus only, right? So hydroxyurea drug stimulates the formation of fetal hemoglobin in his body, and this fetal hemoglobin does not sickle in oxygen deficient conditions. So this is the only possible way out for a sickle cell anemia patient, right? You know how this sickle cell anemia is expressed, how the genes for sickle cell anemia are expressed. A person expresses this sickle cell anemia in both heterozygous condition and homozygous recessive condition. A person may be HbA. If a person has both the alleles of the gene in normal state, we call him as homozygous dominant condition. A person may be homozygous dominant for the sickle cell anemia. So a person may be normal. This is the genotype of a normal person, right? However, in some persons, one of the allele is mutated. One of the allele is mutated and another allele is normal. So when one allele of the gene is mutated, another is normal, we call this as heterozygous condition. So person may be heterozygous for sickle cell anemia. A person may be heterozygous for sickle cell anemia, or we say he may be a carrier for sickle cell anemia. However, if a person is HbS, that means both the alleles of the gene are in mutated form, then we say person is homozygous recessive. For sickle cell anemia. And in this condition, the person develops sickle cell anemia. In this condition, the person develops sickle cell anemia, right? This heterozygous individual, it may also show sickling of hemoglobin only in oxygen deficient environments. In oxygen deficient environment, the person may show sickling of hemoglobin. Otherwise, in normal atmosphere, the person doesn't show sickling of this hemoglobin. Why? In this heterozygous condition, half of the RBCs, in heterozygous condition, half of the RBCs, 50% RBCs, they produce normal hemoglobin. 50% RBCs produce normal hemoglobin. And 50% RBCs produce sickle hemoglobin. Because normal RBCs are there, so due to presence of normal RBCs, 50% normal RBCs, the person doesn't experience the bouts of sickle cell anemia in normal environmental condition. However, if the person is taken in an oxygen deficient condition, the person may experience the attack of sickle cell anemia. The person may experience breathlessness. The person may experience breathlessness, right? In this homozygous recessive condition, a person always develops sickle cell anemia. In normal environment or in oxygen environment, the person suffers from sickle cell anemia. And in this condition, when both the alleles are normal, when there is no gene mutation, a person is normal person and he doesn't have sickle cell anemia, right? So we can say this sickle cell anemia, it shows codominance. The allele for sickle cell anemia shows codominance. Because this normal allele, it is also expressed, and this sickle allele, recessive allele, it is also expressed. In heterozygous condition, 50% RBCs, they have normal hemoglobin. And 50% RBCs have sickle hemoglobin. So both the alleles are expressed together. When both the alleles of a gene are expressed, that condition is known as codominance. Codominance. And this codominance, it is shown by autosomal gene. So we say it as autosomal codominance. We say it is an autosomal codominance, right? So sickle cell anemia is a case of autosomal codominant genetic disorder. Sickle cell anemia is a case of autosomal codominant genetic disorder because both normal allele and the mutated allele are expressed together. They are expressed together. So that is why we say it is a autosomal codominant genetic disorder. So I think this is section for today. Remaining we will discuss inshallah yesterday.